Welcome to another Free Tech Tuesday webinar. This is a live recording of a previously aired webinar. Your webinar will begin shortly. Today's Tech Tuesday webinar is on Solid 2011 Release 2, What's New? In order to cover today's topics, we're going to use the help file. So at the top of the screen, I'm going to click on Help, and then I'm going to click on Help Topics. That'll bring up the screen that we see right here, which is the help file in Solid 2011, and it automatically opens up to the topic, What's New in Solid 2011 R2. Everything is broken down into what level or what area of the program the new feature is available in. So we're going to start right here. The Recent tab is the default tab when setting part materials. What we're talking about there is when you're in a material schedule and you're modifying the materials here by selecting materials for the different parts of the cabinet. If I right-click and choose Select Material, the Select Material window will automatically open to the Recent tab. That way, if your most recent items are the ones that you're looking for, this would be the way to find them. Alright, so now we'll switch back to the help file. Now we have the option to ignore edge banding when exploding an assembly. So let's go back to Solid and I'll start a new job here. I'm going to bring in an upper cabinet and I'm going to double click on the upper cabinet and bring the upper cabinet to the 3D view at the assembly level. Now those of you who have Solid Ultimate, you're going to be able to use the explode slider here on the right hand side of the screen. Now in the past, the edge banding on the door and on the cabinet, as you can see here, will explode. Now we have an option. You could right click on the screen, go to Properties, and we have a new option here that says Explode Banding from Part. Now because that option is checked, you can see all of the banding all around this particular cabinet. So let's go ahead and uncheck that. Click OK. Now you can see that the banding is not exploded anymore. So now you get a much cleaner picture because all you see is your various cabinet parts. So let's go back to the help file. The next item is right here. This is in the assembly wizard. We have Bore by Opening is now available for closet objects. We'll switch to Solid here. We'll open the assembly wizard and we're going to take a look at my closet construction method. We'll go to Operations and then Line Boring. We now have the ability to specify Bore by Opening for the closet module. Now if we also start a new job in Solid, and we're going to bring in one of my closet objects using the closet construction method. Going to go to Objects, Custom Closets, Shelving, Suspended Shelves, and bring out the Shelving 18. And what we're going to do is at the assembly level, we'll go to Properties, then Boring. And here we have the ability to specify Bore by Opening at the assembly level for a closet module object. Very cool feature. Okay, the next item is in the bid center. We have the ability to export bid data to a database for third-party use. Let's check that out. We'll start a new job here. Now I'm going to the bid center, and when I arrive at the bid center, we're going to have a new button right here, Export Bid Data. When you click on that, that is going to export a file to wherever you choose to export it to, and it's going to export an MDB file, and it's going to be named bitdata.mdb. You should also be able to change the name of that if you wish to give it the name of your job or however you want it. An MDB file is a file that you can open in most third-party applications. Okay, the rest of the new features that we have next are going to be in the CAD area. We have Shift plus drag a rectangle will force the rectangle to be square. Let's check that out. Let's just go to the drawings page, go into CAD, and I will grab a rectangle tool. Now, without using the Shift key, then it's going to be whatever size I want that rectangle to be. But as soon as I hold down the Shift key, you can see that it's forming a perfect square. Okay, the other features we have is we have changed the direction of the leader. So now the start point establishes the arrow location. In the past, when you used the leader, you would click on the leader and you would start your end point for the leader. For example, you would start there and then come over here, and when you right clicked, your arrow would be here. Now, wherever you start your leader at, that's where the arrow starts. Right there, just like that. Okay, the next item is we have a text leader tool. Okay, I'm going to come back here to CAD. I'm going to go to leaders, and I'm going to choose text leader. So with this tool, you establish the location of your arrow, draw your line, and when you finish the line by right-clicking, it's going to pop up a text box here. We'll just type in text leader, and it will place text on this. Now I'm going to use the select tool and just take a look at this real quickly. You can change the arrow size here. You can change the font size down here. So you can change various components of your text leader. In fact, you could even change those as you place it. So if I want my arrow mark size to be a little bit larger, and if I do not want the text to be in line, I could tell it no. Change the height here. Okay, now this time I'm going to draw my line at an angle. And you can see that it did not keep my text in line with the line that I drew here. Pretty neat. Okay, let's look at what we have next. We have a revision cloud tool. Let's go ahead and send part of this to the drawing page. And I'm going to go ahead and go to drawings. I'm going to bring that scene out, place it right here. When I go into CAD, let's say I want to draw a cloud around one corner of the cabinet. So I'm going to use the cloud tool, and I'm going to begin drawing the shape of the cloud that I want to use. It's simply a matter of using the left mouse button to click the start points that you want to use to create random connected arcs. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item. Layers from CAD symbols come with them when inserted. Now what this refers to, let's clean this here sheet. And I'm going to give you an example by creating a really simple CAD symbol. Now what we're going to do here is I'm going to create some layers. So you can see here I've got 5 different layers. I've got the default, the layer 2, 3, and 4. So I have 4 layers. And what I'm going to do is activate layer number 4, and I'm going to draw a line. Then I'm going to activate layer number 3, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. Then I'm going to activate layer number 2, and I will draw a circle. So now I have 3 different layers, and each one of these layers is activating one of my different CAD shapes. Now if I take this, use the select tool, drag a box around that, I'm going to right click, choose Save Symbol. And I'm just going to call this one CAD Layers. Okay, and then we'll delete this. Now I'll go to Insert, go to Symbol, and I will grab my CAD Layers and place it right here. Now let's go ahead, right click on it and choose Ungroup. Now what's important here is if I click on the line, you will see that the line is still associated with layer number 2. The circle is associated with layer number 4, and the square rectangle is associated with layer number 3. So for those of you who are familiar with and use your CAD layers, this should be very important to you with your CAD symbols. Okay, pardon me, I had to type a response to somebody. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go ahead and undo this, and we'll go back to our help topic. We also have a new feature now called Set Up Text Prompts in CAD Symbols. Now, to show you this one, I'm going to go ahead and tell you where to find more information on that before we start. So we're going to go here to the room level, go to the sidebar, go to CAD, and then we're going to choose right-click options. And when we scroll down a little bit through here, there's a really good example of how to do this. Because I know many of you, if you're like me, after you watch the webinar, you might not remember how to do this. So here's the topic that basically explains how we can do it. If you include CAD text in your symbol, you can have that text prompt you to enter a value for it when you insert the symbol. They give an example here using view name, view letter, and view number. These are very similar to your CAD text variables for auto text. However, what you need to know is this is completely custom. I could type in the forward bracket, the rear bracket, the question mark, and then I could type in whatever I want in between that, and that is my custom text variable, which is going to create a prompt. So let's give it a try. I'm going to just come in here and I'll just draw a single line. We'll zoom in on that, and now we'll go to text. And I'll type in, I'm going to use some of these that I already have, which is view number. And let's go with view letter. Now, again, these are very similar to your CAD auto text variables. They are controlled by the curly bracket and the question mark. Whatever you type in between is what is your custom CAD variable. So we're going to use the select tool, select that, right click on it, and I'm going to choose Save Symbol. This one we're going to go ahead and just call it Prompt. And I'm going to call it New because I already have one in my library already. So let's go ahead and delete this. And now I'm going to go to Insert, Symbol, and here's my prompt New. When I click OK, it's going to pop up this little window here that says Symbols Text. what do I want to put in for the view number? So let's tell it this is going to be view number 12, and the view letter is going to be H. Click OK. And then when I place this on my screen, it automatically populated it with the view number and the view letter. Now you are not limited. You are absolutely not limited to the example that I gave you. You could come in here and simply type in a left curly bracket, a question mark, and the right curly bracket. Now, between the question mark and that right curly bracket is where you would type in whatever text you want to use. Let's just call this one CAD 2011. Use our select tool. We'll right click, choose that, save symbol. And then when I delete this, now that we've got a clean sheet, I'll go back to insert symbol. And when I bring this one in, it's going to prompt me, what do we want to type in here? And so it gives you the ability to type in whatever you want to be used within your symbol. Okay, totally customizable. Very powerful feature. I think you're going to very much like that particular feature. So let's go back to our help file now. And we'll go back to the what's new topic here. Okay, we have added new table groups to the assembly level and assembly sheets. Now, in previous versions of Solid, we did not have drawer box parts or drawer boxes, rollout parts, or rollout boxes included in our table groups for the assembly level and for the assembly sheet. So let me show you what that means. When we're here at the drawings page, and you're not in CAD, you're simply at the drawings page, you could go to drawings library. And we'll switch to the assembly sheet templates. Now if I go ahead and create a new assembly sheet template, I'm going to choose insert table. And we'll just put a table in here. Now we're going to add a group. Now we have drawer boxes as a group. So for example, this will give me the quantity, the width, height, and depth of my drawer boxes. We also have the buyout category, the description, the comment, and material, any of these that I wish to use. So I can use those to create an assembly sheet template. Let's go ahead and put a container in here so that we can finish it off. And we'll save this. And now we'll also do another thing. We'll take this cabinet, delete it, and we'll bring in a stack of drawers. Okay, now we'll go to reports and assembly sheets. Now I have to change my assembly sheet template to drawer boxes. And we'll just take that one right here, send it to the drawing page. And here it gives us a list, the quantity, the width, the height, depth. The material is not listed. And if we take this same cabinet now, and we'll take that cabinet and double click on it so that we come up here to the cabinet editor level. I'm going to move the cabinet off to the right so that we can use this here space to go into CAD, go to Insert, Table, and we'll just draw a big table here. We have that same drawer boxes group is right here. So it gives you a list. So this is now available. The drawer box parts, drawer boxes, the robot box parts and robot boxes. They're all available in the assembly sheets and at the assembly level. I know that's a particular feature that quite a few people have been asking for. Okay, in our countertops, we have the ability to edit automatic appliance cutouts in the countertop editor. Let's take a look at that. Let's bring in a base cabinet. And we'll bring in a sink, put it in the middle of the base cabinet. Now when I go to tops and I tell it to auto build the top, it's automatically going to put in a cutout for that sink. Now so long as you're in the tops mode here and you place your cursor in the area of the sink, you right click and you could choose edit the cutout shape. So this will give you the ability to change whatever characteristics you need to regarding that cutout shape. So if you need to make it a little bit bigger, or if you need to make some other changes to this here shape, you can do so. We also have the ability to define joint edges via the countertop shape editor. We'll switch to solid now, and I'm at the countertops view. I'm going to use the new top feature, and I'm just going to go ahead and add my points to create a top here, and I'm going to specify on the right hand edge that I want a butt edge. I'll go ahead and choose my regular edge types around this top to fully build this top and then save it. And then I'm going to build another top right next to it. Snap to the points that I've already placed, and I'm going to choose butt edge here. And I'm going to finish out this top as expected. And then when we switch to the 3D view, I'm going to save that shape. You can see the one top already has the dog bone operations right here. So let's go back, and we need to edit this top. So I'm going to right click on it and choose edit shape. The key feature that has to work here is that the two edges have to connect to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that one back in using the parallel line tool. And now I have a butt edge joint on each top. This is important that you do have your operations for the countertop setup in the construction method to produce this. This is also only available with CNC tops. Very nice feature. I think I'm going to go out and build me some countertops. Now we're moving on to doors. We have the option to output buyout doors to CNC. Many of you have asked for this over the years. I'm going to start a new job, and I'm going to switch to my buyout door construction settings here, my job template. And in particular, I'm going to be using a raised panel door. What this is going to do is when I output CNC, it's going to include secondary machining for the hinge cup holes and for the pull holes that are on that door. So let's go to the S2M Center, and you'll notice that I have my primary machine set to none. It doesn't really matter if this is set to none or not, but I would select the buyout door. It will not produce code for the primary machine. It will produce code for the secondary. Secondary machine is still your nested base router, but it will produce a single file just for that one door so that you could do the hinging and the pull holes. Not a bad feature there. We'll go back to the help file. Now for the drawers and rollouts, we have an adjustment for the dovetail fit. Now this is for the door maker for the dovetail drawer boxes feature, and this actually affects a setting here in the tool catalog. Let's take a look at it. We go to the S2M Center, and we'll open up the tool catalog. Here's my dovetail tool. The feature here is called the tail width extension. It's an adjustment to both the male and female cuts to extend the width of the dovetail. Okay, this will not give you any kind of additional play. It just simply gives you the option to have a wider dovetail. So if I bring in this here drawer box cabinet again, and we'll take a look at the side of the cabinet, see how tight my dovetail joints are together. Now if I were to go back and increase that extension by say a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch more, then it would simply make my dovetail operation itself much larger. So we're going to go ahead and check that, see how that works. Go back to the tool catalog. Here's my dovetail. Let's go ahead and give this a 1/4 of an inch extension. Go back to the plan, take a look at the side view of the cabinet. You can see that they are now larger. The dovetail operation itself has increased by a 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now also in the drawings area, when you select a scene from the scene list, it will provide a scene preview. Let's send this drawing here, the plan view of my tops. We're going to send it using the to drawing, and then we're going to right click again and send it to live drawing. This is going to send a snapshot of the drawing to the drawing page. And here we have our available scenes. When you click on a scene, you're going to get a little fly out preview here. You can tell it that you wish to preview all scenes or none. When you disable it by using none, then it will not provide a scene preview at all. If you choose all, then it will show you the static and the live drawing preview. And if you choose only statics, then it will only provide a preview for the static drawings. Very nice feature. We also have a feature in the drawings area, align scenes using snap points to the grid, paper, or other scene points. What that means is if I bring out one of these scenes and I place it on the screen here, now when I roll my mouse over that there scene, you can see how the hot point marker is indicating that I can connect to any part of that scene. For example, this corner here. So if I left click now, I'm actually connected to that corner. And when I move this here scene, I actually move it by that corner right there. To give you a better example, I'll go into CAD. I'll draw a line right here. Okay, so I've drawn a line here on the screen, and now if I pick up, let's find out. Yeah, I did that wrong. Those two lines are actually inside of that scene itself, so I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line outside of that scene. And another one here. Now when I go back into the scene, I'm just going to delete these two lines. There we go. Okay, so now what this means is I could pick this scene up by any point And if I want that end of the wall here to snap to the snap point on this here line, I could just pick that up, snap it right on there. If I want this corner of the cabinet to snap right on the corner of this here line, I could just position my mouse near that corner, see my hot point marker, left click on it, and then snap it right on the money. So not just CAD, but you can snap to other scenes. You can snap to the grid. If I turn my grid on, I could pick this scene up by that corner and snap it to one corner of the grid. If I go into measure tools and I draw a snap mark right here, and I could pick this up and snap it to that snap mark, just like that. Great deal of power, especially for those of you who find it important to provide submittal drawings. Okay, back to the help file. Alright, the next area is going to be a general area in Solid. We have the ability to do a custom order import via text file or CSV. In Solid, I'll go to the report screen, go to Utilities, and I'll click on Import Order. The Import Order screen opens up. I'm going to browse to where I have located the file that I wish to import. And down here in the bottom right hand corner, I want to switch the file type from Solid Order to All Files. Now when I go to All Files, it displays all the different files that I could potentially import, but I want to bring in this Custom Import CSV file. CSV file stands for comma separated values, and that's what we have here. We've got a cabinet number, a cabinet name, the width, the height, the depth, the hinge indicator, the finished end indicator, and the quantity for that object. So this is a very, very simple format for information to bring in. This is my custom import.csv file, which I'm going to import that information into Solid right now. Now it comes up with the data field configuration. I need to make sure and specify the text qualifier is going to be a comma. Down here in the bottom half of the screen, I need to specify what each one of these here values are. So for example, we're going to use the number here for the ID. We're going to use the name field for the cabinet name. For the width of the cabinet, we're going to choose the width field. And then the same thing for the height and the depth. For the hinging, we'll specify hinge. And we don't have a finished end type, so we're going to actually leave this as ignore. And then in the last column, we're going to use that for our quantity. So what this is going to do is it's going to import these objects. Okay, this is the CSV file that I imported, and this is what we see inside of Solid. Now the really nice thing about this is kind of similar to an ORD file. The difference being that the information is going to have to come from your job properties. So you'll have to set up the appropriate cabinet construction, hardware, material, as well as doors. Everything that you want to be utilized for these objects here. Now these are not totally non-graphic. You can see here I don't have a wall. I don't have anything. These are just simply like non-graphic objects. Let's take a look at the view mode. That will show us that we get a cut list for all of those objects. And again, all of this, the material, the part sizes, everything is based on what is set up in my job properties for construction, materials, doors, hardware, all of that information. This should be a very useful feature for those of you who like to use the ORD file, but you need more flexibility or more simplicity. we have a custom part list export via text file. That's actually at the same screen. When we come back here, we'll go to reports and we'll go to, let's first bring in a cabinet. So we've got a cabinet object here. We go to reports and we go to utilities. We can tell we want to choose to output a data file. Now if I were to choose to output a P&L file or a cut file, for example, I have the cut file here checked. I have to do this if I want to use the custom output file. So for example, I've got one here. Let's take a look at it, called list modified. We've got here all of the various part values that we want to output. For example, we've got the part length, part width. All of these are chosen from this field over here. So for example, if I'm using the P&L file format, but I want to output a text file or a CSV file, which I can use as an alternative, this gives me the ability to customize how I want that information from Solid to be output. So let's make one more change. I'm going to change the name of this here job. Call it a cut file test. And then I'm going to go to the S2M Center simply for the purpose of optimizing this job. You know what? I'm going to cancel that. I forgot that I've got all those dovetail drawer boxes. So what we'll do is we'll optimize two of the end panels. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and generate my code for that. Okay, so now we've created the cut files themselves. Let's go to the reports. Go to utilities, output data file. This is going to be the cut file format. The name of the file is going to be cut file test. It's going to be in my Planet Solid 6.1 folder. We're also going to go ahead and select use the modified list here and click OK. This is going to create a cut file test.txt file. So after I click OK, I'm going to open up the Planet Solid 6.1 folder. And down here at the bottom, here is our cut file test. So it's going to have the name of the cabinet, the size, all of the various items that I indicated that I wanted to have included in my cut file substitute. That's my custom output form. And again, that came from the output data file here. You've got your custom tab. You can set these up to configure them however you need. So I was asked a question about that feature. Allows you to create your own custom reports, but that would only be for those options that you see at the output data screen. Okay, we also have Drawbox and rollout material schedules are added to the ORD file. For those of you that use an ORD file, when you export an ORD file, it will now include the Drawbox material and the rollout material. There we go, export in order. And we're just going to point this to the What's New folder here, called Cut File Test. And this is going to be our order. Now if I open up this folder, and here's the order Word file. Down here we're going to have the drawer box material and the rollout material included in the Word file. We have improved 3D rotational functionality when you're in Solid and you're at the 3D view. We've made it smoother, and we've made it even smoother for when you do a texture mode. It's much more responsive, it's faster. Back to the help file. You also now have the ability to change unit of measure position via the status bar menu. When you're in Solid, you would be able to change your units by clicking here. You could change it from metric to inches. But now, if you click on the word inches, it will pop up the unit precision. So if I want to display 1/64 of an inch, I could click on 1/64. Or if I want to display 1,000th of an inch, I could click on that. If I'm using metric, it's the same thing. All you have to do is click on the word millimeter or mm and choose the unit of precision that you want to use. Okay, back to the help file. Under Job Properties, all combo boxes drop-down menus are now sorted alphabetically. In the past, when you went to Job Properties, and if you looked at any of your, for example, material schedules, everything in here used to be in the order that you created the item in. Now they're all listed alphabetically. And that'll be throughout all of the different tabs under Job Properties. Excuse me. Okay, moving on to layers, and we're getting close to being done with this, and then we're going to move into the S2M Center, so we're getting close on time. Layers, we have the ability to turn on or off drawer and door numbering at the section editor. We have the same feature at the assembly sheet view. For those of you who are not sure what I'm referring to, let's take this cabinet and choose Edit. And at the section editor view, we have the door and drawer box numbering right here. 1A, 1B, 1C. I can right click on the screen, go to Properties, and in my layers I could go to Annotations. And I've got Show Door and Drawer Numbers. I could turn that off. Also, to affect your assembly sheet, if you do not want that to be displayed on the assembly sheet, you would go to the Reports view. Right click on the screen and go to Properties. And here you would access Annotations again and put a check mark here for Show Door and Drawer Numbers. That will remove door and drawer numbers or prevent them from showing up on your assembly sheet. Okay, we have a light layer for user added lights. If I take this this view right here, for example, let's say I want to put a light in here. If I want to do a user added light, that implies that I'm going to right click on the screen and choose Add Light. I can specify how bright the light is and all of that information here. And then I can position the light wherever I want it. Now when I go to 3D view, and if I do any kind of rendering, we'll actually see that light show up. But first, I'm going to turn off the other lights in the room. So now when I do a photo vision full architectural, we're going to see the effect of just that one light. So that light, I want you to take a look at this. That light is active and it's working. Okay, but in our layers, I could go to Properties, go to my layers, and we have lights right here. I could turn that off. That light will disappear, but it will still render. Okay, so you're not removing the effect of the lighting, you're simply removing the visual attribute of the lighting object. Okay, so back to the help file here. At the layout level or room level, we have the ability to establish a vertical position for object placement. This is going to be a pretty important one for you. Looking at this wall here, let's delete that light. And we'll delete this cabinet. Now normally, when I bring in an upper cabinet, that upper cabinet is going to get positioned at a certain location on this wall. That depends on how that cabinet was saved into the library. We're going to right-click on it from the library and choose Edit Item. Go to Advanced. Go to Placement. It says Below Positional. Okay, now what that means is when I go up here to the Room Properties, and let's go to our Layout tab, we have a positional value here. So what that means is when I saved this cabinet to the library, I chose save it below the positional. Okay, this is my positional value. So let's make that 66 inches. Let's delete that cabinet and bring it out of the library again. Now, this cabinet is going to respond to the new value that I gave it. So my positional value was below 66 inches. If we go in to use my measure tool, snap to the bottom of the wall, and then to the top of the cabinet, we can see that it's going to come out 66 inches. Make sure we snapped right on the top of that cabinet. Okay, so we're coming out at 65.99. That's good enough. And that's because it actually snapped it below that positional. Didn't snap it right out by 66. And that's right up here at the Room Properties and on the Layout tab. That's going to come in handy for scenarios where you have taller walls, but you do not want to use the soffit feature for placement. Okay, both of these values here, 0 entered for floor to upper above the refrigerator, disables that option, and 0 entered for floor to upper above the range also disables that option. We'll be talking about right here, and we'll be going to the cabinet level layout properties. Floor to upper above refrigerator simply specifies how high a cabinet should be placed above the refrigerator as well as above the range. If you set that to 0, then you disable that feature. Okay, for those of you who write your own reports, you have the ability, we've added the assembly ID from your catalog, which is a CVC file. It's been added to the cabinets table in the report.mdb. The hinge material ID from the CVC file is also added to the doors table in the report.mdb. That will give you some expanded functionality. Okay, we also have new options here to set the line board type by assembly. In other words, from one assembly to another, you can have different line boring types. If we take this cabinet, look at it at the section editor view, go to Properties, and then go to Boring, we can have a boring style just for this cabinet here. And then another cabinet in the same job can have a different boring style completely. Great deal of flexibility there. Okay, we have two new features in the user-created standards. The ability to delete and reposition a licensed UCS for those of you that have solid standard. Also, we have a match parameter to set local or global search for master operations. That's similar to the current functionality that we've had for IntelliJoins. Okay, so we're done with the Solid 2011. Now we're going to move on to the S2M Center. Alright, for the S2M Center 2011 R2, we're going to open up S2M Center 2011 R2, and then we're going to open up the help file. Okay, now in the S2M Center, I'm going to do the same thing that I did in Solid. I want to encourage you to click on Help, click on Help Topics. That always opens up the What's New document. The What's New document in the help file is always very important to you. You should take the time with the new program to go through these features. As you use this, you'll notice that if you roll your cursor over it and your cursor turns into a small hand, when you click on that item, it actually takes you specifically to that topic for more information. So we have here show parts not set for optimization or output. Okay, now this is going to be right here in preferences under the general tab. It's got an option here for show parts not set for optimization or output. What this will do is any parts that you normally have set up in the part catalog to not be optimized or to not be processed on your CNC, you can now trigger that to show up. For example, if I go up here to Preferences in the S2M Center, that option is right here. Since I don't have a job here in this, we'll just go back to Solid. In Solid, we'll go to the S2M Center. And you'll see here that I have all of my door parts. And that may be because I have it enabled here. But let's find out. Okay, so that's not set, but if there are any parts that are normally disabled in my part catalog to not display as a part available for optimization or in C, then those parts would now show up. That also gives you the ability to do this. You can right click on one of these parts and choose OK to optimize or OK to output CNC. Now in this case, none of the parts that I have are good for that, so we'll just move on. The next item, determine which columns for the part list are included on your pattern printouts. And that'll be here on the Reports tab under Preferences. So let's go back to Solid S2M Center. At the top of the screen, I'll go to Solid button and then click on Preferences. And then we'll go to Reports. So now we have all of these columns that you can display on your reports. You also have the ability to display part comments on your reports, on your pattern printouts. The next item, warning, will be displayed when deleting label designs. If you've ever deleted a label in the past and then discovered that you deleted the wrong label or you did not intend to delete that label, you will now get a warning which should help you to prevent that. At the S2M Center, I'll go to Utilities, go to Label It Setup, and then I'll click on the Label It Designer button as soon as this comes up. we will click on Design. And now when I click on Delete, I'm going to go ahead and just copy one of these existing reports. We'll go ahead and copy this one here. Call it Test. Now if I want to delete the test report, it will ask me, are you sure you want to delete it? So we'll tell it yes. You have, just like in Solid, you have the ability to change unit of measure position from the status bar menu. Again, that's simply by clicking here on inches. I can specify which unit of position that I wish to use. Ability to package up and transfer the following to another PC or STM Center user. You can package up your labels, your machines, your tools, materials, library parts. All of that is right here, the STM Center interface itself. It's called Setup Package. This is the standalone STM Center. And with this, you have the Setup Package feature here. When you click on that, it's very similar to the setup package inside of Solid, but it's restricted to only your machine-specific and CNC Center-specific features like labels, machines, tools, materials, as well as all of your library parts. So you can create a package if you want to share a given CNC machine with another customer or with another computer. That will include your Intel CAM link, each of your post processors, your label that you use, as well as your drill head configuration and the tools associated with it. You would simply save it. We're going to save this one here to the desktop, to the What's New folder. We'll call this one Machines. And then close it. To use this, you simply go to the other computer, open up the setup package, click on the folder here to open, and here is my machines package. We'll open that, and it will allow you to import this directly in. Now in this case, the item already exists, so I could tell it use the existing item, or I could come in and tell it to overwrite. So now I'm telling it to actually override each of the tools and other items, and then click on the handshake icon. That can import your labels, your machines, your parts, your materials, and various items into a new STM Center configuration. Okay, the option to combine boring to through boring. That's going to be under Preferences, Geometry, Combine Boring to Through Boring. Let's read this. This option will combine any boring operations that originate from both the front and back face that meet or cross in depth and are the same diameter and in the same location, exact same location. This can reduce the number of secondary programs necessary to generate through bores. Currently in Solid, prior to this update, if I had a 5mm hole on one side of a partition and another 5mm hole on the other side, if the diameter of the hole is exactly the same and the position is exactly the same, Solid would still treat that as two operations, and it would flip that part over so that you would have to bore it as a secondary operation. Now with this feature, if you enable combine boring to through boring, it will drill that as a through bore hole in one operation. And that may eliminate some secondary machining for you. Let's go back to Solid here. We'll go to the Solid button, Preferences, and then Geometry. The option is right here, Combine Boring to Through Boring. Next up is the option to control labels, general position on the part. And again, this one here is going to be on the General tab under Preferences. So when we come back here to the S2M Center, go to the Solid button and then Preferences. Okay, we have the label position. You can tell it display the suggested label position, or we can affect the label position here. We could go to Automatic, bottom center, bottom left, or bottom right. The center, center left, or center right. Top center, top left, or top right. We have added a keyword field for secondary face added to DXF layer schemes. So let's look at this. This is when setting up a DXF import. When you open the Import DXF screen, you can go to Edit your DXF layer scheme. And the secondary face here is now a field that you can indicate your secondary face. The secondary face identifies the operation is on the secondary face. Without this designation on an operation, the assumption is the operation is on the primary face. This allows you to define machining on both faces of the part from one DXF drawing. Okay, we also have in the nesting area first pass offset part of the nest gap calculation. Let's take a look at that. Okay, that's right here. It's tool width plus offset plus pad. So now if you're using an offset, the first pass offset value will now be included in your part spacing type. So if you're using a pad plus an offset, so it's going to go with your tool width plus those. So let's say the tool width is 3/8 of an inch, the offset is a 1/16th, and the pad is a 1/16th, then you will get a 1/2 inch part spacing. Okay, we have more flexible tool machine assignment options. Let's take a look at that. That will actually be in the tool catalog. Okay, now for each tool, over here on the right-hand side of the screen, we always have the any machine. In other words, this tool here would be eligible for or available for use on any machine. Now, you also have the ability to indicate that this tool is unavailable for any machine. Let's see what else we have. We also have the option for multiple machines. And when you select this, the properties screen changes so that you have all of your machines available right here. So if I do not want this to be on the main nest or on the nest, and you no longer need this one here anymore because we have the not available machine type. But at any rate, whichever machine that I do want this bit to be available on, simply click in that space where the yes or no is and remove that check mark or place that check mark. Okay, you have the ability now to control whether a tool is available for automatic tool selection logic. This is very important. Let's take a look. The option is right here. Allow auto select. Let's imagine that you've created a bit, something like this here, V-bit, and you do not want any machine to ever use that automatically. Imagine the consequences if Solid grabbed this tool and started using it for an outline. Okay, so you could tell it that this tool is not available for auto select. Okay, and that would be specific for flat router bits, not necessarily a shaped bit. A shaped bit is automatically not going to be used for auto select. Okay, we have a more flexible tool display filter. Okay, and that'll be right here. You have all of your various tools. You also have up here at the top all of your different machines. Okay, we already covered the dovetail fit adjustment option, which is simply the tail width extension. Okay, that was covered earlier, Solid 2011. We have two items remaining. We have tool number assignment for tool sets for use with DXF imports. Okay, this is typically 0 as each individual tool within the tool set indicates the tool used by the machine. However, if you want to assign a tool set to a DXF layer on imported DXF parts, you can use this as the tool number for identifying the tool set. It is recommended in that case that you set this to some unique tool number. The last new feature that we have for S2M Center 2011 R2 is the definition of MDF door horizontal slats. This particular feature is an operation type called horizontal slats. In previous versions, you only had the ability to specify vertical slats. So now if you wish to have horizontal slats on a door, you can indicate that here. Let's go to Solid. And in Solid, I'm going to open up the tool catalog from the S2M Center. You can see here that I've created a horizontal slats and a vertical slats tool. When we go to the tool shape and look at the options that I've specified for that tool, you can see the vertical slat tool set is using the vertical slats operation type. Now let's look at the horizontal slats, and it's the same tool, the same settings, but in the options I've specified that it would be horizontal slats. Let's take a look in AlphaCam now. Here in the AlphaCam screen we can see both of my doors. This door here is my horizontal slats, and this door here is my vertical slats. Very nice feature. That ends today's webinar. We do appreciate you watching. It was provided by the Capnavision Technical Support and Training Departments.